It's good to be with you tonight, and I can tell you that the honor is real and profound. And it seems like only a few years ago that I sat in seats like those you are sitting in at college, and listened to people like me. And I was an English major, which meant I had no idea what I was going to do for a job. The self-help guides I read told me that my life was not likely to be successful, because they said that to have a successful life you had to set a goal and then work tirelessly to achieve it. But that was not how life has worked for me. Almost nothing I've done in my career has been planned in advance. I could hardly have predicted, for instance, that I'd get involved in politics. I remember stepping on the stage in Faneuil Hall to debate Senator Ted Kennedy. I turned to my wife, Ann, and I said, "Sweetheart, in your wildest dreams, did you see me running for U.S. Senate?" She said, "Mitt, you weren't in my wildest dreams." Actually, she didn't say that. That was a joke I bought during my campaign. And by the way, every time I hear another politician use that joke, I demand a royalty. It is not fair. Obviously, the most remarkable of my life's journeys was the one I only recently completed, and that was running for president of the United States. You may not have heard, I lost. But actually, I prefer to say that I got the silver medal. Walter Mondale, not all the young people in the audience will remember Walter Mondale, but he ran against Ronald Reagan and was shellacked in that race. And he commented afterwards, he said, "You know, all my life I'd wanted to run for president in the worst way, and that's just what I did." Now, I learned a lot during my campaign, and I grew as well. So today I thought I'd share some of my experiences and what I learned from them, and perhaps share some lessons they taught for you as well. And some of those will be personal, some will be political. Now, first, I come away from a campaign far more optimistic about the future of America. I met people from across the country, people who don't make the evening news, but people who are making daily innovations and discoveries that propel our economy, parents who sacrifice their resources and their careers in some cases for the children they love, military men and women who willingly put themselves in some of the most dangerous places on earth. And of course, I come away from that experience convinced of something which some people don't want to say, but I believe firmly, and that is that America is the greatest nation on earth. Now, at the beginning of a campaign, you experience a great deal of what I'll call unwelcome anonymity. No one knows who you are. One evening at a Marriott hotel in San Francisco, I had arranged for a massage to loosen my back. It seems that after having shaken literally hundreds of hands that day, I'd gotten a tight and sore back. And after the massage, the masseuse, obviously unaware of my political ambitions, remarked to my assistant, Garrett, she said, "Mr. Romney has strong legs. He's a dancer, is he not?" That was the best thing said about me during that campaign. Now, actually, it doesn't take a long time in a presidential race to lose that anonymity. In fact, a campaign can be a pretty heady thing. At my first 2012 presidential debate in Denver, the miles of the Interstate Expressway from my hotel to the debate site were closed so that I could go through. And I was led by 30 or so police cars and motorcycles. We, of course, had the Secret Service that was with me, the detail protected Ann and me in our bulletproof SUV. But there was also following us tactical teams and SUVs with the back door opened and Secret Service agents carrying machine guns. And the Secret Service was only the icing on the adulation cake. Day after day, thousands of people would shout my name and cheer as Ann and I came into the room. The day after the election, the Secret Service was gone, and the cheers were over. And I went back to driving my own car and pumping my own gas and buying groceries at the Costco, just like I'd done for the many decades before. Now, truthfully, Ann and I never really got caught up in all the flurry. I know that you may find that hard to believe, but we still saw ourselves the way we had throughout our entire marriage. What we knew at the beginning was that win or lose, any acclaim would eventually be forgotten. As the 1940s song Jimmy Durante used to sing said, "Fame, if you win it, comes and goes in a minute." And what we treasure from the campaign was not the pomp and the popularity. It was the friends we made. Among the Secret Service personnel, for instance, we made some very close friends with a number of the agents. In fact, as we prepared to go onto the stage to concede the victory to President Obama, more than one of the agents that was there fought back tears. We missed them as friends, not as power candy. The real currency in life is the friends you keep and the people you love. Now, your faculty may not like me telling you this story, but most of what you learn here, you will forget. There was a 1970s comedian who called himself Father Guido Sarducci. A few of you will remember that name. He had famously said that he had established a university that taught you only the things the average college student remembers 5 years after graduation. The entire course of study took 1 minute. But the friends you make here, you will remember them for your entire lifetime. Friends I made in college are friends today. Many of them actually showed up at my campaign events. Some wrote contributions to me into the campaign. And they touched my heart more deeply than you can imagine. Hold on to the friends you make here at Mississippi State University. They'll be with you in your mind and in your heart a lot longer than the lessons of the class. Now, whether it's in a campaign or in a competitive career, living life can become self-consuming. Who you are can be overshadowed by what you do. If you choose to define yourself, to measure your own success by the praise of others, or by how much money you make, or how high you get on the career ladder, you're bound to be disappointed. And that's because of the inevitable serendipity in life. It can short-circuit your plans. And if that happens, it'll warp your self-confidence and dampen your ambition, test your faith, and perhaps depress your happiness. But you don't need to define yourself by your money or your power or your fame. In my faith, as I'm sure in many of yours, we believe that each of us is a child of God who loves us, that we're His work and His glory. Almost all faiths teach that we are the creation of God. That confirms your incomparable worth. It also informs your life's most important work: to lift your family and your spouse if you marry, to lift and serve others, and to remain true and faithful to God. I think that one of the things that defines the great majority of Americans that I met and spent time with during the campaign is that whether or not they were religious, they lived for a purpose greater than themselves. And during my campaign, Ann and I were frequently reminded of our greater purpose. You may, by the way, find it hard to imagine what it would be like to debate on national TV. I was not a high school debater. In fact, until I got into politics, the only person I really ever debated was my 5-year-old son, Matt, and he won. My 2012 campaign had 23 debates I participated in, 20 with fellow Republicans and 3 with President Obama. And these guys are no debate slouches. Speaker Newt Gingrich had some experience, of course, and President Obama, well, he'd been president for 4 years, so he kind of had his facts nailed down by that point. And so before every one of my debates, I did something to keep things in perspective. At the top of a sheet of paper that was put on our podiums so we could write notes during the debate, I actually would take that sheet of paper before the debate began and I'd write one word at the top: Dad. I also drew a small image of the sun on that piece of paper. And throughout the debate, when I glanced down at that paper, I was reminded of my father's fearlessness in fighting for what he believed was right. And the sun, that reminded me of that familiar scripture, "Let your light so shine." So win or lose the debate, I hoped I would never do anything that would dishonor or discredit the things I hold most dear. During your life, you're going to encounter circumstances that will stress you out. For many of you, exams and tests won't be over when you graduate. You may stand at podiums like this, or stand in front of a boss to ask for a raise, or you may be working on a critical project for your employment. At moments like that, perspective will be a powerful friend. Look at the picture of your family on your desk at work. Talk to your folks on the phone. Go serve someone in need, or stop to pray. Find ways to keep your life in perspective. Now, one of the most meaningful aspects of my campaign for me was getting to meet some extraordinary people. I met Lech Walesa, for instance, of Poland. When the Soviet Union invaded Poland, they rounded up thousands of the nation's most influential people, and then they shot them. There was to be no leader for a revolt. And against that backdrop, a shipyard electrician said no. No to oppression, no to the Soviets. He formed a union of fellow workers and joined a barricade before the shipyard gates. And the communists, they blinked. And what followed was a movement which helped free a nation. And so I got a chance to meet this hero. When I came into him, he said, "You've come a long way. You must be tired. You sit. I'll talk. You listen." And I did. And time and again, he'd say this: "Where is American leadership? We need American leadership." He spoke with great eloquence and power, and at some length. I said almost nothing. At the end, he said, "I'm going to endorse you for President of the United States." Taught me a lesson about how you get support, by the way. Say little. I met Cardinal Dolan of the Catholic Church in New York City. He's a mighty voice for religious freedom. I met Billy Graham at his mountain home. He prayed for me. His is a voice that has long called people to come to Jesus. I met the principal of a charter school in Philadelphia. She had led the entire student body from failure and underachievement to hope and success. From all the admirable and heroic people I got the chance to meet, I was impressed with the enormity of the influence one single person is able to have. One man helped usher in freedom in Poland. One man led an evangelical awakening. One woman had lifted almost an entire student body. Each of you will influence other people's lives. Perhaps you'll shape history. Perhaps you'll shape the history of a single individual. Consider with care how you act, what you say, and to what you devote your life. For I can assure you, your choices will shape the lives of others. I met others that I'll call heroes during my campaign. They're of a different nature, perhaps, than the ones I've just described. At one of my first speeches in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the applause from the audience seemed to be instigated by someone who, while I was speaking, would emerge with a loud, piercing shout that said this: "Isn't he wonderful? Oh, Mitt, we love you. You're the best." Now, I could assure you, I was as startled by that as I was pleased by that. After my remarks, a delightful middle-aged woman named Joni Scouter made her way to the stage and threw her arms around me. This was the first time I'd met Joni, but it was far from the last time I'd see her. Over the campaign season, I've seen her dozens of times. She drives to wherever I am in eastern Iowa, and at every speech, her enthusiastic squeals of support energize both me and the audience. She devotes herself to supporting people who she thinks can make life better. And that way, she's also a hero. On another day, my motorcade was approaching a rally in New Hampshire, and I noticed that someone had gone way over the top in decorating their pickup truck. He had built a scaffolding of sorts in the bed of the pickup truck, and he had mounted enormous Romney posters on the scaffolding, and the rest of the truck was covered with flags and bumper stickers and so forth. There was a man standing next to it. He was tall, had white hair, he was smoking a pipe. He was wearing either shorts or Bermuda shorts with long white tube socks that came up almost to his knees. Now, a few days later, I was pulling up to an event in Iowa, and I happened to see the same truck. In fact, it seemed that wherever I went, that truck was already there. Now, that may not seem so unusual, except I was flying, and the truck obviously was not. The guy who drove it turned out to be a guy named Jim Wilson, 70 years old, and by just the midpoint of the midpoint of the campaign, and this is the only time I have data for, because it was written in an article, he had attended 150 of my campaign events, and he had logged 40,000 miles on his 1998 GMC pickup. This year, all right, after the campaign, I was out campaigning this year, and I was helping a candidate there who's running for U.S. Senate, and there he was again with his truck, and he presented me with a pair of white tube socks. Like Joni, he campaigns in his own way for people he believes in. In that way, Jim Wilson is also my hero. America needs heroes. You don't have to be larger than life to be a hero, just larger than yourself. I see heroes every day. Scoutmasters, teachers, missionaries, campaign volunteers, parents. I hope you choose to become a hero, because we need a lot more of them in this country. Now, one of the best and the worst things about a campaign is that you get a lot of advice. Usually several times a day, someone comes up to you in an audience with a letter with their surefire way of what you have to do to win. I was told, for instance, by one gentleman that I should take bigger steps when I walk to prove that I'm athletic and young. Another said I should stop shaving for a few days and grow a bit of a stubble to become more sexy. As if I needed that. Of course, the best advice you get is from the people closest to you. Now, I'd been a frequent speaker in my church, and I figured that I didn't need a lot of advice on giving a speech. My dad, who was then governor of Michigan, joked that he had once ended a campaign speech by saying, "In the name of Jesus Christ, amen." My errors weren't that obvious, but my chief strategist helped me to shorten my long stories and to find applause lines and to slow down. I'm trying. My wife, Ann, is my best advisor. I also look to her, of course, for affirmation and support. So she has perfected the art of first heaping on the praise and then ever so gently offering a word of advice. Just like I did during the campaign, you need to have a life coach. You need someone who will tell you the truth, tell you that the perfect mate you've been looking for is no more perfect than you are, tell you that you're wrong and why you're wrong, and then tell you what will make things right. I can assure you that finding someone who cares enough about you to tell you the truth, and then you taking the time to get their counsel and their coaching, is invaluable. Now, by the way, you may have heard that I'm thinking of running for president again. That's my brother Scott. Put it down, will you, Scott? I don't miss the adoring press. I don't miss over 300 nights a year in a motel room. I'm not even thinking about getting rich from the speaking fees after I leave office. As you no doubt heard, I'm already rich. I'm thinking about how I could help the country. And following my campaign and in the years since, there are three concerns that stand out foremost in my mind. First, we need to make the world a safer place. The President's dismissal of real global threats in a State of the Union address was naive at best and deceptive at worst. We have just recently mourned with the people of France. Our hearts likewise go out to the people of Nigeria and Yemen. Hundreds and perhaps thousands were slaughtered by radical jihadists. ISIS represents a new level of threat, given its oil revenues and the vast territory it controls and its ability to recruit even in the West. I don't know how the President expects to defeat the jihadists if he won't even call them by the name that they are. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton cluelessly pressed a reset button for Russia, which smiled and then invaded Ukraine, a sovereign nation. The Middle East and much of North Africa is in chaos. China grows more assertive and builds a navy that will be larger than ours in 5 years. We shrink our nuclear capabilities as Russia upgrades theirs. Doesn't the President understand that some of what we're seeing in the world is in part the result of his timid foreign policy, of walking away from his red line in Syria, of paring back our military budget, and of insulting friends like Israel and Poland? Strong American leadership is desperately needed in the world and for America. Second, we need to restore opportunity for the middle class particularly, and that'll soon include you graduates. You deserve a job that can repay all that you spent and borrowed to go to college. Short term, the economy is looking up, but it's a lot better for the few and pretty darn discouraging for the many. Incomes haven't gone up in decades, and I can't count how many recent college graduates I met during the campaign who'd expected a high-paying job at graduation and instead were now waiting tables. How can Secretary Clinton provide opportunity for all if she doesn't know where the jobs come from in the first place? And how does President Obama expect that America will be the best place in the world for businesses, as he promised in his State of the Union, if he persists in business taxation that's the highest in the developed world, regulations that favor the biggest banks and crush some of the smallest ones, a complex and burdensome health care plan, and a slanted playing field in favor of unions and trial lawyers? We need a president who will do what it takes to bring more good-paying jobs to the placement offices at colleges like this. And third, we need to lift people out of poverty. Almost every week during my campaign, I met folks who'd fallen into poverty as a result of some unexpected event, like losing a job. They were almost uniformly optimistic about finding their way back into the middle class. But I also met folks who'd been in poverty from generation to generation. These we have to help escape the trap and the tragedy of chronic generational poverty. For 50 years and trillions of dollars, Washington has fought the war on poverty with failed liberal policies. They haven't made any headway whatsoever. It's finally time to apply conservative policies that improve America's education system, promote family formation, and create good-paying jobs and help people get out of poverty forever. Three priorities: a safer world, opportunity for all Americans, regardless of the neighborhood they come from, and lifting people from poverty. Now, by the way, some of you may have been expecting an announcement from me here today, but I know that no announcement I can make could remotely equal the significance of Dak Prescott saying he's coming back for his senior year. And no approbation could possibly equal that you feel for Coach Mullen and that great team. What a year they had. What I will say is this: like you, I love this country. I'm optimistic about its future. I'm convinced that brighter days are ahead. My optimism comes from the people I met and from the people I see right here in this room. We need your leadership. We need your commitment to America. We need your heroism. We need your sacrifice and hard work. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you so much. Thank you.